it's me, Mary MC of Healthy by George. I come every Friday and Sunday talking about health and wellness and how we can focus on it, specific things as we get older. Today, I want to talk about the Biggest Loser documentary that's been on Netflix that I think has stirred up a great deal of discussion about fitness, health, wellness, and this extreme approach that was all about 17 seasons of The Biggest Loser. I'm just amazed that it was 17 seasons. So please think about subscribing. I would love to see you here every Friday and Sunday, or anytime you'd like to comment or join in a discussion, because it's all about understanding what we have to do daily to keep ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally fit as we go into our older years. Please subscribe. I'd love to see you. So, this documentary, I think, has brought up a lot of discussions and controversies. And I had no idea when I was watching it that the contestants were on an 800 calorie diet. 800 calories. Like, how can a person sustain that at all without literally losing it? I don't know how they did that. And then they were doing workouts for 8 to 10 hours. No wonder somebody would needed to give them some caffeine pills. But even still, is that rational? I don't know if it's worth, after listening to this documentary and hearing some of the really challenges that were shared, specifically by Tracy Yukich, I think that's how you say her name, who nearly died running on the beach. And she was airlifted to go to the hospital. And then she was really ill with this very rare iron condition. And yet she went back, even though there was a lot of real danger for her to be involved. This just blows my mind that here is this thought process about being thinner in our society that is truly, it's not well. And I don't think it's even better, even though The Biggest Loser is not really going on anymore. But it's really amazing to me that it was so successful for 17 seasons. That means people were watching this, people were engaged, and they really leaned into the drama about depicting really overweight people and their struggles. And I have to say, I would never have ever, as much as I had wanted to lose weight all my life, I would never have put myself into that situation. Because really, they did a study back in 2016, which they shared, of the long-term metabolic slowdown. Now, granted, the study was small, but that apparently by doing this very dramatic approach, that it really caused a metabolic slowdown that can't be explained. And that these individuals now, some of them have not been able to sustain a weight loss because of this slow metabolic rate. So this is really weird. But I have to tell you, I think what we're learning about set points and muscle versus fat loss, and there was none of that happening. No one was looking at, were they really developing muscles? Were they really just burning all kinds of calories on this blows my mind, 800 calories. I don't know how anybody lives through that. And that no wonder there was some emotional trauma, and that they never thought of doing any kind of aftercare, because if they had, I guess it means that maybe they were at fault. I don't know. But clearly, so many people, especially I think the gentleman Dan, who was one of the early losers who lost so much weight, he was dramatically thinner. And now he's gained all of it back. And he's much older now. And I have to tell you, I can see what a struggle it was. And even though he looks back at this thinner person that he was, I'm sure he has a lot of emotions about this. And I'm hopeful that many of these people, no matter whether they were successful or not, I do hope that they're in some kind of mental care, that extreme approach to me is extraordinarily challenging. I hated watching how Jillian Michaels would scream at these people, and I never could find it within myself as something that I would condone. I think there's, as someone who struggled with an eating disorder and emotional eating issues and being heavy because of a genetic predisposition, I don't know how someone would survive going through that kind of an extreme approach day after day for weeks during this biggest winners or whatever, biggest losers. And also, too, that you're competing against one another. I don't know. I just find that this is such a wonderful but painful to watch documentary about, I think, bringing up many issues around health and wellness. I believe it's not about, are you losing weight? I think the truth is, are you managing a lifestyle that is going to continue to offer you the best health and physical and mental well being as you get older? I think you can be anyway. Now, granted, it's not great to be super obese, but I don't think I'm going to be someone who ever is not considered obese by the medical community. I'm not going to be at a BMI of 25. It's not possible. I don't think I could ever achieve that. But do I think what's achievable for me is a stronger body, more muscles, less fat, a healthier diet? I'm so excited about my wellness visit that I just had. All of my blood work came back looking phenomenal. Now, yes, I'm still having some issues with hemoglobin and anemia. I think that's just genetic, and I have to see what I can do to help myself. But otherwise, I'm thrilled to see that my hemoglobin A1C is a 5.3. All of my blood work is falling into like normal ranges, my glucose. I'm so excited to see this work that I do every single day, thinking about what I'm eating, thinking about how I'm moving, giving myself mental and physical breaks. Granted, none of it's easy. No one ever said this stuff is easy. But I think if you approach it from taking tiny steps every day, this dramatic, overt managing your weight and losing sudden amounts of weight is just not the way to go. I don't think that's how you really create a lifestyle. A lifestyle is about looking at one particular thing, a small thing perhaps. Maybe you want to reduce the carbs in your diet, or maybe you want to increase the number of steps. What's the smallest amount that you can do and maintain daily until it becomes something you just feel that it's something you do? I feel extraordinarily successful about doing these small steps. Granted, I'm still recovering from this surgery. I had to remind myself that literally I'm only 2 months from being out of surgery that happened on June 27th. It's hard to believe. It's here almost August 27th. And I'm just 2 months almost past that last surgery. I'm feeling better than I have felt in a long time. And it's magnificent to not be in pain. And I'm just thrilled that so many of these people talked so openly about their issues around this documentary. And I think what was very poignant was one of the women who came forth. I think she was one of the later winners who was extraordinarily thin, who had been I think, an Olympian or a competitive swimmer. And the shocking faces of everyone when they saw this weight loss of hers, which was like, she was down to 105. I think the total amount of weight that she lost was like 155. That's a lot of weight. And is she still maintaining it? It sounds like she's still very active and maintaining somewhat a similar weight. Is there some conditions around that? I think, yeah, I think this kind of an approach that was done, but for 17 seasons, which I'm shocked, and all these people made so much money, and at what cost? The individuals who participated they now have this issue of, I think, some kind of metabolic condition that's hard to understand because they did this extreme dieting and over exercising for a consistent period of time. That there were medical emergencies that happened during that show, that there was long-term regain of weight by a lot of the contestants, that many of them felt trauma and stigma and a lack of psychological support. And it just felt to me like somehow taking advantage of these individuals who yearned to be thinner. And they were looking for people who were very dramatic and overt and to make good television. But at what cost? Is that really what we want? That's why I'm really not someone who's a fan of what they call this real life TV. I find it troubling. I don't think it's something that I want to support. I think what we have to do is support those life-changing behaviors that are low risk, then they don't come at a personal cost that's long-term, which many of these people talked about. And I see that in the news that Jillian Michaels is really having trouble and she's thinking of suing them for this documentary. I just don't think that she made a lot of money. I looked it up. She made a lot of money. And there were spin-offs. I think all of those people, Bob, the guy that's the other physical trainer, he made a lot of money. The producers made a lot of money. The television programming made a lot of money. And yet these poor individuals who were the contestants paid a price. And I think it really highlights how we can make a spectacle of people who happen to be overweight and don't fit in and feel a sense of desperateness because they're overweight and they've tried so many ways. I think it's obvious now with Ozempic and Mounjaro that there's something very wrong going on metabolically or between our gut and brain when people can't lose weight despite all of their efforts. I loved it that Serena Williams came out and shared her experience. Here is this elite athlete who comes out and is sharing she's on one of the GLP-1 drugs because she too found it almost impossible to get her weight to move to a lower, more comfortable number despite all of her efforts. I know how that feels. I truly do. So no matter what you're trying to do in your life, to feel better in your body, to feel healthier, feel stronger, feel mentally and emotionally clear, that's really what we want. That's truly what we want. And I feel, and I want to encourage everyone, small, baby, tiny steps is the best way to go. Something that you can do easily with kindness and compassion towards yourself, that you are working to have behaviors that will create the healthiest version of who you are well into your older years. We have this one precious life. Let's live it intentionally. Be well, my friends. And think about subscribing. I'd love to see you here every Friday and Sunday. Bye-bye.
So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.